Imagine having the life of your dreams. Not temporary cash and glory, but happiness and inner peace. Explore new ways to be a creator and take your own journey into greatness. Is it possible? What does it take to make that happen? It takes the person known for extreme results. He's called the cage breaker and the ultimate catalyst. Coming back from the brink of death and now crushing it for himself and his clients, this is Your Ultimate Life Podcast with Kellen Flukiger.
Hello and welcome today to Your Ultimate Life. Today's episode 510, and we're going to lay the first stone in the Pillar of Truth. This is a podcast dedicated to you, to help you create your life of purpose, prosperity, and joy that you create by serving with your divine gifts. I reaffirm the foundation principles of the podcast. You're a divine being. You were created by God, however you perceive that infinite power to be. You were given gifts and talents as part of your endowment to come here. You also had a purpose that you not only agreed to, but you were excited about and committed to do. Part of the fun of this journey is discovering that purpose, living into it, leaning into it, and using it to serve others so we can create that ultimate life of purpose, prosperity, and joy. And some people argue, well, if I serve with my divine gifts, I can't make any money and I can't have all the cash I want to have everything I want. And there's two answers to that as we dig into this pillar of truth. Number one, that's not a true statement. I can't have all the cash I want if I serve with my divine gifts. That's not a true statement. There are plenty of people that I know personally, including me, who are able to serve with their divine gifts and make plenty of money. That I know is true, and that includes you. You are as talented and capable as me or anybody else. So the idea that you can't do that is not true. It is an untruth. And it's really important to understand as we build, guess what? The pillar of truth, right? The second thing is that's not correct about that thought is the idea that earning all the cash that you want is the answer to everything. I certainly have lived in a time in my life for many years where I had all the money that I could spend. I spent it, I bought a lot of things, and none of it was happiness. I bought a lot of access to things, to situations and places. I bought a lot of toys, bought a lot of comfort and fun. None of that translates into internal true happiness. And the reason's simple. Because we're divine beings, we're happy when we're doing divine things. We are drawn to do good. We are drawn to be good. We are drawn to add good to the world. We are drawn to serve. And the more we give into that yearning, the happier we are. Incidentally, there are ways, many ways, to use your divine gifts to serve in such a way as to make a living or make money. There are many who don't do that. They choose to have a more traditional occupation. I know an accountant, worked for many years as an accountant. He used divine gifts in lots of other ways in life and did a lot of service and love. So that person used their divine gifts to serve others. Incidentally, they had another career also in order to make money. So marrying the two is not required. I want to eliminate the notion that you can't make a good living using your divine gifts in service, because you can. Perhaps that person's divine gift was his ability to organize and to help people deal with taxes and governments and those kinds of things. So the idea that I want to clearly give you as truth is you're divine, you have gifts, you can use them to serve and create your ultimate life. Now, stone number one in the pillar of truth, I mentioned it briefly yesterday. This is the idea that truth is foundational. It is unchangeable, real truth. We have to differentiate here between what is true and what we think at any given time. Because one of the things that I mentioned yesterday briefly, I want to dig into a little bit more today, is I've been reading some stuff because of a book I got recently about the CERN super collider, Large Hadron Collider. And that's a big piece of scientific gear in Switzerland they use to conduct experiments on super tiny particles. And they ramp them up really fast and crash them into each other, and look what happens. And it helps us define the nature of matter and all kinds of stuff in the universe. Here's my point. Truth that we thought yesterday, last week, last month, last year is subject to revision. All those models that we had of atoms, molecules, atoms, electrons, neutrons, gluons, mesons, quarks, etc., all the way down to stuff that even gets to smaller, and now we're down to where we're not even sure. We have a model called the Standard Model, and right now that's accepted not as ultimate truth, it's accepted as the best model we've got, and it seems to keep being verified by lots of other stuff. But I just saw an article published about 3 months ago that said, oh, gee, there's a particle discovered that seems to contradict the behaviors of the Standard Model. So that doesn't cause the world to end. What it does is there's an effort to either explain the behavior in terms of the model or to realize we have to revise the Standard Model. That isn't the pursuit of truth. Or it is the pursuit, sorry. It isn't a declaration of truth. It is a model that needs revision. Now, let's get to some things that are foundational and true. We are divine beings. That's true. That's not subject to revision. That is a foundational, unchanging, eternal truth. You have gifts and talents. That is a foundational, eternal, unchanging truth. You have purpose in this world. That is an eternal, unchanging, foundational truth. You know those things in your heart because you feel them. And you feel drawn to do what I call add good to the world, to help people, to do stuff. People say that to me all the time. I ask, what do you want to do? Well, I like helping people. Well, of course you do. We were built that way. We were born that way. And the only way we don't feel like that is if something's wrong or we have suppressed that feeling. So here's the key to understanding the foundational nature of truth. Number one, seek to know real truths that are not changeable. Create the idea that foundational truth, I named some, is your life model. So there are plenty of people who say, well, you know, if I lie a little here or I cheat or I exaggerate, you see that in internet marketing as a place. Oh, it used to be terrible and now it's still not good, but the government has stepped in and tried to force people to stop making outrageous claims because people believe outrageous claims and then they spend money and then they don't come true and then they try to sue people and et cetera, et cetera. So to protect us from our own stupidity, the government has stepped in and says you can't make those claims. But marketing online used to be way worse than it is. The claim that you could just push a few clicks and make a lot of money. Well, that's not true. That is hype. If you do that, whether you're marketing or not, let's say you're meeting someone and you represent yourself to be a certain way. You lie about your experience. You lie about what you've done. You lie about who you are. That is not the foundation for a good relationship. It's not the foundation for good business. It's not the foundation for comfortable conscience. Now, I know people that do that, and I'm sure you do too. And you and I both know they do not have comfortable conscience. They may have stomped the light of truth out of themselves, and they get by lying their faces off. Well, you're free to go be one of those. I don't think you want to be, or you wouldn't be here thinking about the ultimate life. And if you think that somewhere in this secret podcast in episode 932, I'm going to give you the secret sauce that makes you able to just create whatever you want without any effort, you're not the audience here. Go away. Like, don't listen to this podcast because there's no secret sauce. The sauce of life is your sauce. The effort and work and process is the joy here. So if you lie about who you are or who you represent, or you pretend you're something that you're not, you will not have power. You may gain advantage for a short period of time. You may talk somebody into something, and they may give you some money, and you may run and do a victory dance. But your heart is tainted, and you know it. And at that point, you'll have choices. Well, I'm going to ignore it, stomp on my heart, and just keep doing it because I love the cash so much. Okay, then you're living in wealth that's derived from deceit, untruth, and skullduggery. I love that word, skullduggery, right? It's phony. And the world's full of that crap. If that's who you are, you can join them. But I don't think so. I believe better of you because that's not who you are. You're here seeking real purpose, prosperity, and joy. So here's the key to this stone that truth is foundational. Number one, accept in your heart the idea that there is such a thing as absolute truth. Let me give you an example. Stephen Covey, who is dead now, but wrote the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which by some measure has been given the award of the most effective and powerful business book of the 20th century, and all kinds of really high honors. Okay. He was teaching a seminar once, and he was talking about this kind of truth. There is a true north, he called it. And that's fun in Canada because part of the Canadian national anthem is the true north, strong and free. And so I love the phrase, the true north. But anyway, a person came up to him afterwards and argued with him vehemently. There is no such thing as true north. Situational. Everything depends on, whatever. And, Covey wisely didn't argue with him. He told him to go home and truly think and meditate about that and come back and tell him what he thought. And I don't know what happened overnight, but something happened that night that even that skeptical person came back and in tears the next day said to Stephen Covey, yeah, there is such a thing as a true north. When we go deep inside of ourselves, we know there's truth. We know there's real integrity. We may not see a lot of it. There may be people who gain all kinds of unfair advantage, get cash and power over others because they lie and cheat and everything else. But your choice here in creating the ultimate life of purpose, prosperity, and joy is to accept that truth is the foundation of that life. And that poem about looking yourself in the mirror, the man in the glass or the woman in the glass, your final reward will be heartache and tears if you've cheated the woman in the glass or the man in the glass. Even if you fool the whole world down the pathway of years and get pats on the back as you pass. It's part of the lines in the poem. Your life, to build the ultimate life, has to be grounded in the fact that there are real things that are true. Cheating, lying, dishonesty, shading, pretending, inauthenticity is not okay. It is not the way to build your ultimate life. I want to be really clear about that. Now, one of the reasons we get caught up in that is what I call WITOT. WITOT is an acronym that stands for What I Think Others Think. It used to be a huge problem for me during some of my executive years when I was so worried about what I thought others thought, WITOT, that I did. I lied, I pretended, I acted completely different than who I really was. And I did it all because I thought I needed to do that in order to get that approval, in order to get that promotion, in order to be thought of in a particular way, in order to be cool, or whatever word you want to stick in there. And just like always happens, my heart was sick. I beat on it and pretended all that stuff away, but it didn't go away. It didn't exit my life. It showed up in other ways. Ultimately, it fed the depression that I struggled, which said I'm not good enough, which is how I was raised. You're not good enough and never will be. So that just fed that. And it fed the endless cycle for me of, wrecked relationships and in some years, addictions and all kinds of other stuff. So that departure from what is true and real wrecked my life. It doesn't have to wreck yours. One of the reasons I'm doing this podcast is to share with you the painful and powerful lessons of experience. One of the painful lessons of experience for me was that the minute I did not, and all the years, I did not have truth as the foundation that I did not have the stone, the foundation stone in the pillar of truth, that I was going to live by truth, not speak lies, be clear, be authentic. When I didn't live like that, it didn't work. I had temporary success and temporary cash and glory, and then burned to the ground over and over again. And it was only finally when I learned to live with authenticity and transparency that I was okay. And I got happy and was able to sustain it over the long term in periods of years. So I'm sharing that ugly but true life lesson with you. Now, one final caveat before we're done today, and that is authenticity and transparency doesn't mean you share everything about your life with everybody. You don't have to tell anybody anything. What you don't do is pretend. What you don't do is lie. You can say, I'm not talking about that. You can simply say that isn't appropriate here. You are not required to tell everybody everything. What you don't do is lie and pretend. You do not get rid of, chip away at, or eliminate the fact that ultimate absolute truth is the foundation. That true, honest, eternal principle is the key to laying the foundation of the pillar of truth and building your ultimate life.
Open your heart and this time around.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. We hope that you take it deeply into your heart and decide for yourself how you can create anything you desire. If you like what you heard, please subscribe to this podcast and share it with your friends. As always, we'd love to hear your feedback and topic suggestions. Until tomorrow, this is Your Ultimate Life with host Kellen Flukiger.
Stand with your heart in the sky and your feet on the ground.